Welcome to session 6. In order to help you prepare for this session on teaching reading, please consider the following questions. What are the objectives of doing reading comprehension in class with students? And what problems can students have when doing reading in class?
What do we mean by teaching reading? Obviously, we're not teaching learners how to read words. So what does it involve? As teachers, would you prefer to use a short text consisting of 1 paragraph or a longer text of 4 paragraphs or more? Why? Do you feel there is value in one sentence as a reading text to use in class? Why or why not? Some pros could include focusing on grammar structure and collocation, or familiarising learners with signs and notices they could encounter in an English-speaking country. For lower-level learners, matching a sentence to a picture is a way to check understanding in reading, whereas cons could be that there is a lack of context to inform the reader on things like word choice and register, or that a poorly selected sentence may not have much mileage in it. How important do you feel knowledge or interest in the culture of English-speaking countries is to understand or benefit from a text? Does this have implications for you as the teacher in terms of your role or training? Cultural interest in a country cannot be forced, but culture-specific information can be given in order to aid understanding. If there is no cultural awareness or interest, then idioms, pop culture references, collocations, and dialogue interactions could be misunderstood or missed completely. Should the teacher prepare the students for the reading activity? How? Why? What are the 2 main reasons why people read? Generally speaking, it is either for information or enjoyment. And what are the ways of reading, or how do people read? It could be skimming for gist, scanning for specific information, or close reading for detail. What would be some typical exercises for each of these? Discuss with your colleagues. Whatever the reason and whatever the method, the texts and activities should meet that purpose. Reading can be difficult to teach. It can be hard to grade language appropriately. Students can be reluctant to read, often because culturally it's not a big part of their life, in their own language, or they find it demoralizing when they fail to understand texts. There are many ways to get students reading, and this doesn't always involve a whole book or story. Personalization can often help in finding texts that can engage learners before the reading process starts. So, think about tasks or methods we can use in the classroom to help make reading tasks both accessible and enjoyable before, during, and after the activity. So, as we can see on the slide, there are many ways we can make any text more accessible for our learners. We can also use reading as a springboard for other skills within the reading lesson, which we'll look at later in this session. When we approach a text, there are generally 2 processes we take: top-down and bottom-up processing. Top-down processing is when we use our knowledge of the topic to help predict and prepare for the text. Bottom-up is when we rely on our understanding of the words, grammar, and chunks in the text to give us meaning. Which do you think is the most efficient? Which do you do? Which do learners do? Obviously, a combination of the 2 are what our brains are doing constantly, but learners may be tempted to fall into the bottom-up category more as they try to make literal translations of every word. This is problematic, as they may neglect to consider chunks, idiom, and collocation, and end up forming a totally different understanding of the text, or none at all. Therefore, in teaching reading, prediction exercises, and thereby top-down processing, are an important part of approaching tasks. Prediction acts as a warm-up for the specific task, activating language and building confidence. Imagine you're reading a newspaper or a magazine to kill the time. Will you read it cover to cover, from beginning to end? Probably not. You are likely to turn to the sections that interest you, such as sport or film reviews. Flicking through the newspaper, which articles do you decide to read? A photograph or headline will catch your eye. If it's a photo, you will probably make some assumptions about the situation before you check the text to see if you're right. If it's a headline, you probably know something about the news item or person and want an update. When introducing texts like this to students, a typical and useful pre-reading activity is to use images for the headline. This activates schemata, or their bottom-up processing skills, as well as their top-down processing skills. Try this as an example. Look at the images. What do you think the headline might be? David Beckham arrested for drink driving is the headline. What other pre-reading tasks could you use with this headline to help learners understand the story prior to reading taking place? Ideas. Predict 10 words you think you may see in the article based on the title. Talk about what happened before David Beckham got arrested. There are some topics that have specific vocabulary tasks. These might deal with categorizing vocabulary or phrases into their functional form, like here for example, Level 3, Topic 1, Task 5. Vocabulary plays a significant role in developing reading skills. Learners need to be able to identify language features in order to select the information they need from a reading text. Look at this example. Skimming through the article, words such as danger, erupt, or the collocation pose a threat will help you focus on what is important. Then, take measures or solution might guide you through the second part of the article. These are carrier nouns, also known as power words or trigger words, which help the reader by signaling the development of the text. The reader will soon realize that this is a problem-solution text, so expect an evaluation of the situation at the end. In other words, the vocabulary and style of the text will activate the schemata for the reader, who will know what to expect from this type of text. Texts may also include words like consequently, in contrast, but, or in addition. These conjunctions or linking words, along with paragraphing and the carrier nouns, provide coherence or logic to the article. To avoid repetition of the topic or subject, rather than continually using education, the president, or the problem, for example, words such as this or these, pronouns including it and they are used, as are synonyms. These types of words provide cohesion to the article. Does the reader use top-down or bottom-up reading strategies here? In a magazine article or newspaper column, you might see adverbs used at the beginning or end of some sentences. For example, naturally, surprisingly, fortunately, or worryingly, etc. What is the function of these adverbs? The writer is using them to make their position clear in the article, instead of writing, in my opinion, or my standpoint is, etc. Similarly, when reporting, is there difference in meaning between the doctor has established, the doctor revealed, the doctor claims, the doctor contends? Based on the above examples, what are the implications for the teaching of reading? There will be times for most readers when they encounter unfamiliar words. Take the word prerequisite, for example. It's not a very common word, and students may not have seen it before. So how do we discover its meaning? Context helps first of all. We can see here the sentence is talking about experience for a job. Now we know the situation, we can ask what kind of word it is. A noun. What does the prefix pre indicate? Before. Can you suggest other words that can be made from the root or the middle of the word? So, prerequisite means something that is required or needed in advance. In this case, relevant experience is necessary in order to do or apply for this job. That is not the only way of dealing with unknown vocabulary. Recently, a friend posted on Facebook, "I'm about to meet with a professional luthier. I've never done that before." A luthier? My friend is a teacher working overseas, and his hobby is playing the guitar. Does that help you? Because of his hobby, I guessed luthier was related to the musical instrument the lute, and obviously the noun was a person because of meet and professional. I was right. A luthier is a person who repairs stringed musical instruments like guitars and violins. All the reading texts and listening scripts in the GES have been written by native speaker level qualified teachers. This has ensured that while the grammar and vocabulary levels are graded to the appropriate level for a learner, the use of language is natural and also contains examples of the grammar structures that are the focus of the unit, topic vocabulary, particularly collocation, and expressions that can be used in real-life situations. The aim of the Imperial English courses is to not include as much impressive language as possible, which ultimately overwhelms a student and results in their learning less than intended. But the principle is that the language the learner meets is one step higher than their current level, following Creation's level +1 second theory of language acquisition. This means that students are constantly being pushed to achieve higher yet attainable levels of language.
These are the hashtag words to take from this session. Write a short summary of the session using the hashtag words and examples where possible.